And our last one. Accomplishment and one that you should be very proud of. Taking the initiative to put your name forward and for the Canadian World Championship was pretty impressive. I hope to see your name included next year. Yeah, the next time we win first place. I know. I've already been. I got it behind. Yeah, my name on it.
Oh, you can actually see. I just have to sense it. That's prime for stuffing. It's cute.
That's the conservation use. It comes up on the tree.
Yeah. And just tell them it's a Christmas decoration bear, not a real bear.
We call him Teddy.
I'd like to call this meeting of Monday, November the 30th to order. Are there any changes to the agenda? Councillor Butler.
My microphone's not on. I just wanted to.
Second.
Oh, here's the one.
Go ahead, sorry, my phone.
I'd like to add a late item to the agenda tonight. I've received some phone calls from citizens that are curious about what's happened with layoffs down at Public Works. Apparently there have been people laid off and I wasn't able to give them an answer. I wasn't informed on the issue. So I'd just like a quick briefing from staff as to who has been laid off down at Public Works. As far as I knew, people were going to be leaving as they retired. So I'm just wondering the recent developments with that.
Councillor Ross.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd just like to make a little announcement at the end of the meeting, just to talk a little bit about the Solidarity Climate Action Walk scheduled for December 12th.
So may I have a motion to adopt the amended agenda as presented? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Butler. All in favor? So carried. May I have a motion to adopt the November 9th Committee of the Whole meeting minutes as presented? Councillor Butler, unless there are any changes. Councillor Thompson,
Yes.
discussion.
Thank you, Your Worship. On page 11 of 158, when they are discussing the activity reports from department managers, it should be commencement of survey and design options for East Reservoir and UV disinfection, I believe is the correct terminology rather than UV.
No.
So Any other? So I have the motion, so all in favor? So carried. Next item is I have a motion to adopt the November 9th, 2015 regular meeting minutes as presented. Councilor Butler, second. Councilor Hammond, any changes to that? Councilor Thompson?
Thank you, Your Worship. On page 22 of 158, we were discussing the water meter installations. And with respect to what the CAO advised, that the bylaw sits at third reading, which could be rescinded. So is it will be or could be rescinded? I don't think. Could be. So with the deletion of the word will.
So noted. All in favor? So carried. We now move on, to our written reports of council. I have a motion to receive all the written reports of council. Councilor Thompson, Councilor Hammond. Councilor Hammond.
I'd like to do an update, since there was a question posed that I was going to bring back. It's on my councilor's report, so if I could just talk about that regarding the Deer Committee.
Please go ahead.
There was a question posed at the last regular meeting as to whether or not the collars could be removed at this point. And I advised that I would talk to the biologist the next day at the Deer Committee meeting, but I suggested that it would probably it would be too prohibitive from what we're going to get back. And the fact is, the biologist said that he was very reluctant and would not tranquilize the deer to remove the collars because of the threat to people, the deer, and vehicular traffic accidents for stunned deer running around. Those collars, it would cost more to remove each collar than what we would be able to receive back in refund from the provincial government. And they are designed to fall off at the 2-year mark. So there's 7 remaining collars on the deer now, and they will stay on until they fall off, and then they will be retrieved and sold back to the province and save a lot of stress for both the deer and surrounding residents. So that's an idea on that.
Thank you. Councilor Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In my written report, I have a motion that I'd like to put to the floor today. And if we could pull it up. Many of us reported on the water supplier meeting, and in that meeting, it was very well represented by council, but strictly 2 representatives from each organization, including the City Council, they participated in the meeting. Therefore, I put a motion forward, and it reads, there's a couple of whereases there. I'll go straight to the therefore. Be it resolved that Councillor Ross and Councillor Hammett be the official representatives on the Water Supply Committee, and be it further resolved that Councillor Ross attend and represent the City of Grand Forks at the Kettle River Management Plan meetings as appropriate. I so move.
Second that.
Councilor Thompson. Discussion.
Yeah, this is definitely something that needs to be discussed. I just thought it might be more appropriate if we could do it at the same time when we discuss that item on the agenda, because there's information in that line item that talks about the representatives.
Yeah, I did read that line item, and I don't think my report or my whereases contradict the content of that report. If the council would like to delay it, I don't think it's going to change anything.
Councilor Weber.
The way I understood the report was they were asking for 1 council member and 1 member of staff. And there's more to it than that. That's why I just wanted to change it. We could discuss it later.
Councilor Thompson.
Just as a suggestion that we appoint Councillor Ross and Councillor Butler be her alternate, or Councillor Hammett, pardon me, be her alternate in the event that Councillor Ross can't attend a meeting,
Or in the event that we can't have two.
or in the event that you can't have two members of council in addition to a member of staff. And with beg your indulgence, Mr. Mayor, but I see that Graham Watts is in the gallery, and perhaps he might be able to clarify that point for us.
You need unanimous decision of council for
Yeah,
member of the
that
public.
decision of the public.
Okay.
So will council approve? All in favor to allow Mr. Watt to make a statement?
I'm opposed.
Okay. Well, then it doesn't work. So we can't have a comment. So, Councillor Crawford.
No, I hit the wrong button. So try and channel it. No, my understanding was that representation on the board, they would like, or not on the board, but on the committee, they would like one staff and a member of council, right? So that was my understanding. So I like the idea of the alternate for the council member.
So is that a friendly amendment?
Or we're just not going to pass anything. No, we should pass.
I would move the amendment, if that's.
Point of
So-
order.
We have a motion on the table, so we'll just defeat it.
No, here.
No, I-
Amend the amendment.
Just point of order though, you do have to change it because in Robert's Rules of Orders, you can't nominate yourself for a position. And if Councillor Ross is putting forward the motion to nominate herself, it's self-serving, it has to be done by somebody else.
I'll nominate her.
But you're the alternate. I would be, I would be happy to put forward, if Councillor Ross chooses to withdraw her motion, I would be quite happy to put forward a motion that would nominate Councillor Ross as the city designate with Councillor Butler, or Councillor Hammett.
You know you want to put
I
me on that
know.
committee. I would like to volunteer if you want to nominate me.
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at Councillor Hammett as Councillor Ross's alternate.
So now we have a seconder,
I'll second that.
Councillor Crog.
Do we need to say the staff part
No, I think that's
In
our
there.
administrator.
or no? That's it.
We're just,
Okay. I'm good.
so now, we can move forward here. All in favor of that question on the table? All opposed? Councillor Butler is opposed. Motion is carried. We'll now have the verbal report from council representative to the Regional District of Kootenai Boundary. Councillor Butler.
Okay, I have attended a bunch of meetings, but the one that's probably of the biggest interest was the meeting that I attended this morning, along with our CFO, as for the preliminary. It's not coming up. Oh, never mind. There it is. Oh, it's open. Okay, so these are, we have these shared stakeholder budgets. And the areas that we cover and we participate with, either Christina Lake, rural Grand Forks Area D, sometimes the City of Greenwood, etc. And the ones that we participate in are mosquito control, the arena, the aquatic center, transit in our community and all the way up to Greenwood, animal control, economic development, recreation programming, which fits in sort of with the arena and the aquatic center, but it's a separate budget, the library, and the curling club. So we participate with at least one partner on all of them. A lot of them are, 2 or 3 different partners. So these budgets will change because we need new updated figures, and this was for assessment for the taxation part of it. And this is, like I say, was just presented out. So I took the information, I squished it down to one page, I sent you all copies of it. But basically, mosquito control overall for our area is $100,415. And our share of that for 2015 was $57,157. Budget for 2016 is $56,900. So we see a difference of a drop of 2.5%, which is almost 0.5%. The arena, the total tax requisition for us in Area D is $447,000. Do you want me to do the other three numbers or just stop at that? Okay, and our actual last year was $278,000. Budgeting for 2016 is $304,000. Our percentage of that arena that due back to when it was built is 68%. So we pay 68%, regional pays 32%, which is a big difference, 25,364, which is 9.10, so almost a 10% increase. Same with the aquatic center, overall 614,000. Our share for the city of Grand Forks was 333,000. It's going to go up to 351,000, and we pay approximately 57+% because of assessment, population, all that. So that's going to be a difference of 17,000, almost 18,000, which is a 5.31. And before anybody asked, I'll just say that both of those increases have to do with wages, right? With contracts and wages. Transit, the whole transit system all the way up to Greenwood is 45,000. Our share is 23. It'll go down to 21. And so it's going to be less, $1,800, almost $1,900. So it's a minus 8.18%. Animal control overall for Christina Lake, Greenwood, and City of Grand Forks is 130,000. Our share is 43.5, and it's actually going to go down to 43,081. So 378. So that's almost 1% down. Economic development overall for all our areas is 79, almost 80,000. Our share is 26. It will go down to 21%, so that's almost 5,000 down and a 19% drop. The recreation programming, so if you add that to the arena and the aquatic center, you get a true cost of what we're paying, and that's 422,000. And our share of that, which is 57%, is 237,000, and it will go up to 241. So that's 4,400 increase, so 1.87. Library, the three participants, Christina Lake, Rural Grand Forks, and City Grand Forks, total is 365,000. That's what we tax for. And our share is 121. It will go up to 125, which is 2.81, so almost a 3% increase. But then their wages and their commitments to contracts basically would eat up 2% of that. So it's a really small increase. Curling club, 35,000 is what they get every year, and our share of that is 12,000. And there's no increase for the coming year. And if I totaled it all, you get for the cost for everybody for all those services is 2.14 million. Our share is 1.13 million. And we will go from 1.3 to 1.76. So you will see, if this was to stay the way it was, which it won't, you'll see it as a 3.83% increase, so $43,000. But it depends on assessments. If the city went down and the other areas went up, or if we all went down the same, then the numbers would still be pretty close. So that was the preliminary budget, and that's what we're looking at for all our shared services.
Your worship, through you to Councillor Crowe, the question.
Go ahead.
ECDF, is that
Yeah.
the boundary, the BEDC, our contribution to that?
Yes, yes.
Councillor Butler.
I had a similar question on that. So what type of services, I think you said it was around 30,000 that we were contributing, and what type of services are we getting for that?
Oh, for the economic development?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're contributing 26,000. And that's basically us, Greenwood, Midway, and the Area E and Area D. So our share is that 21. The services we get is to, right now we have a contract with Community Futures for economic development. And then there's also projects that they enter into. So that's basically, it's our regional economic development. Other people do that as well as their own on top of that.
Thank you, Councillor Crowe, for your report. May I have a motion to receive Councillor Crowe's report? Councillor Ross, Councillor Hammond. Any discussion other than that? All in favor? So carried.
I don't know if I'm allowed to.
We'll move on to our recommendations from staff for decision. Our first one being from our Chief Financial Officer. It is in regards to the 2016 property insurance sole sourcing. For our financial officer, Ms. Shepherd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as an update to this report, the insurance claim has been extended another 2 months, an additional 2 months to January for the insured to finish the claim.
So may I have a motion to waive the requirements of purchasing policy 802-A1 and allow sole sourcing for 2016 property insurance? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Hammond, any discussion? All in favor of that motion? So carried. Moving on again to our Chief Financial Officer, and it's in regards to the write-off of uncollectible business licenses. Ms. Shepherd, do you wish to comment on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only comment I have on this, there was a question at the committee of the whole when I presented regarding Kettle Valley Chiropractic and if they were still in business. So I went back and looked, and apparently he had come into the office on January 23rd and informed the staff that he was no longer in business.
Thank you. So may I have a motion that council writes off the uncollectible business licenses for Boundary Houseworks, for Grand Forks Monuments, for Kettle Valley Chiropractic, for Pinkies, for Quick Fire Exhaust and Vent Cleaning, World Within Workshops, Rest Assured, Respite Care, The Wizard of Oz, Leyland Contracting, Misty Creek Productions for 2012, 2013, and 2014 licensing years. May I have a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion? Councillor Hammond.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to CFO. Wizard of Oz, are they closed? Yeah. Well, they did, okay, yeah.
So if there's no other discussion, all in favor? So carried. To our Manager of Development and Engineering, Subject matter to proceed with the disposition of lots 21, 22, Plan 67, Block 4, DL 533, SDY. PID 00519-801 and PID 00519-835. Is there any comment on that from our manager, Ms. Burke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just a formality now. We did advertise in 2 consecutive weeks of the newspaper. We did not receive any comments or questions or concerns.
So we're good to go?
Yep.
Okay. In that case, may I have a motion to direct staff to proceed with the disposition of lots 21, 22. Good. Plan 67, Block 4, DL 533, SDYD, PID 005190801 and PID 00519-835 to Barry and Bree Becker for the amount of $49,000 plus GST. Councillor Butler, Councillor Ross. Unless there's any discussion, all in favor? So carried. To our Fire Chief and Manager of Emergency Services, subject matter, sale of the 1979 Chevy utility fire truck. Is our Fire Chief here? Yes. Would you like to comment on that subject?
Sure, just briefly. Our asset disposal policy says that, in a nutshell, we're supposed to advertise the public the sale of any of our disposable goods. With the fire department, because it is a piece of emergency equipment, we can't just sell it to the public. So if we don't sell it to, in this case, as a neighboring fire department would like it, if we don't sell it to them, and if someone from the public were to buy it, then we would have to take off all the lights, the sirens, the radios, all the striping, everything off it. And in this case, we would be losing money. So for this case, that's why I'm asking to waive the terms of that policy.
Thank you. So the motion required is to waive the requirements of the asset disposal policy 805 to allow for the sale of the 1979 Chevy utility fire truck. May I have that motion, please? Councillor Ross, Councillor Crog. Discussion. Councillor Thompson.
Through you to our fire chief, what is the price on the value of that vehicle?
The value of the vehicle?
And the asking price.
Yeah, we have an offer. We asked for $1,500 and we had an offer of $1,500.
Unless there's any other discussion, all in favor of the motion? So carried. Moving on to our manager of operations. The subject matter is the water conservation and drought response plan. Mr. Reid, do you have any comments on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank council for showing such great interest and on this important topic. So,
thank you. May I have a motion to support the Kettle River Watershed Water Supply Working Group in developing a collaborative water conservation and drought response plan, and further that council agrees to participate in the water supply working group and direct staff to provide assistance, information, and data as appropriate to support the initiative. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Hammett. Discussion, Councillor Butler.
I'm just curious on the wording here. It says to provide assistance. I imagine that's in kind. This isn't asking for a monetary contribution at this point because Grand Forks already has its own drought management plan prepared by Dobson Engineering in 2005, and I wouldn't want to see the taxpayers paying for a redundant report.
You, Mr. Reid.
thank you. The intent there is just for staff time and to provide assistance to council if required during the meetings.
Thank you. Unless there's any other discussion, all in favor? So carried. Moving on to our corporate services, the subject matter is the City of Grand Forks Strategic Plan 2015 to 2019.
So, Mr. Mayor, that was presented at the last committee of the whole meeting. Council had a presentation on that, and there was discussion, And now the plan is before council for the final adoption as we move forward.
So may I have a motion to adopt the City of Grand Forks Strategic Plan 2015 to 2019? Councillor Hammond? Councillor Thompson? Any discussion? Councillor Butler?
I'm just curious, I forget how often this comes back before council for review to update it, because I know that as we work together, we talk about different things we'd like to see happening around the city that we'd really like to move forward on that aren't specifically identified in the plan. So I'm just wondering when there'll be chances for us to amend that with new ideas that come forward.
To our CEO.
Mr. Mayor, during the budget process, everything that we bring forward will be tied to the strategic priorities. Once that's happened, we'll be revisiting the plan at the end of the year. After that, it will be brought up through all the budget discussions. So there'll be, I think we have planned for the budget meeting process. I think there's 6 or 7 meetings. So there'll be that opportunity at committee of the whole for that discussion to take place.
And it can be amended at that time?
Absolutely. This is council's plan. So Mr. Mayor, at any point in time, council can change the direction of their plan.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. Any other questions or concerns? All in favor of that motion? So carried. The next item is a move from corporate services. Subject matter is the appointments of acting mayor for council year 2015-2016. May I have a motion to do the rotating basis as acting mayor during 2015-16 for Councillor Thompson to be from December, January 2016, for Councillor Ross to be from February 2016 and March 2016, Councillor Krog, April 2016 and May 2016, Councillor Hammett from June 2016, July 2016, Councillor Butler from August 2016 and September 2016, and whoever our mystery councillor will be October 2016 to November 2016. Councillor Ross. Do I have a second? Councillor Butler, any discussion? Councillor Hammond.
I'm just wondering if it's possible for Councillor Crog and myself to change dates, seeing as I'm usually away at some point during that time in June or July.
My actual recommendation would be why do we not go back to alphabetical order? Would that work better?
It is, it's in reverse. Public
Yeah, reverse, but I mean normal alphabetical. Would that work better? Rather than just changing 2 councillors' positions. Yeah. Will that work better then? Will that work for you, Councillor Hammond?
Yeah, well, yes, that would be February, March.
So we'll do all the ones except in reverse.
So Mr. Butler would be.
Yeah.
Become the acting mayor tomorrow.
So Councillor Butler would be from December 2015 to January 2016. And then Councillor Hammond would be from February 2016, March 2016. Councillor Krog would be from February, April 2016, May.
Same day.
And then Councillor Ross would be from June 2016 to July 2016. And Councillor Thompson would be from August 2016 and September 2016. And the not yet present new councillor would be October and November.
I'll second that amendment.
So all in favor of the amended motion? So carried. Again, from corporate services, subject matter 2016 regular and committee of the whole meeting schedule. Or schedule for those of you that. Motion is council adopt the meeting dates as presented, provide notice to public of the 2016 regular council meeting schedule and the schedule for the committee of the whole meetings, and further direct staff to publish the notice in the Gazette in accordance with the community charter. Do we have this? Councillor Crog,
I'll make the motion.
seconder, Councillor Butler, do we have any discussion?
Yeah.
Councillor Crog,
Can we also send a copy to the regional district so that when they plan their meetings,
so they can
there's no
coordinate it.
conflict?
That's a great idea. Can we include that in the motion, please? Is there any other discussion? So all in favor? So carried. Okay. On the information items, subject matter is the letter from Minister Thompson regarding the urban deer management. The motion I require is to receive for information the letter from Minister Thompson regarding the urban deer management and circulate a copy of the letter to the Deer Committee. And Councillor Butler, Councillor Hammett, all in favor? So carried. The second one is from myself, which is subject matter letter to the Honorable Steve Thompson, Ministry of Forest Lands and Natural Resource and Operations regarding Provincial Urban Deer Advisory Committee. May I have a motion to receive the proposed letter with regard to their suggestion to use provincial annual funding for deer culling tools for affected BC communities for discussion purposes, and be it further resolved that staff will be advised of the changes, if any, to the correspondence, and to send a letter to the Ministry of Forest Lands and Natural Resource Operations. Councillor Hammond. Councillor Thompson. All in favor? So carried. Next item is the subject matters from the Ministry of Community, Sport and Cultural Development and Minister responsible for TransLink. A letter from Minister Fassbender from the UBCM meeting, and a motion to receive the information, the letter from the Minister Fassbender from the UBCM meeting. Councillor Butler and Councillor Thompson, all in favor, so carried. Regional District Kootenai Boundary, subject matter letter of thank you to the Grand Forks Fire Department for their experience, dedication, and sacrifice during the summer of fire. May I have a motion to receive for information a letter of thank you to the Grand Forks Fire Department from the Regional District of Kootenai Boundary. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Krog, all in favor?
Discussion?
Oh, discussion? Sorry, Councillor Krog, go ahead.
Did they get a copy of it? Or it showed up here and we're just accepting it?
To our chief, did I receive a copy?
Yeah, we got a copy.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion? So carried. Regional District of Kootenai Boundary again. Subject matter, letter of request to consider support of the Kettle River Watershed Management Plan implementation. A motion to receive the request from the RDKB for municipal councils to consider financial support of core implementation and or project funding for phase 3 of the Kettle River Watershed Management Plan in the RDKB annual requisition for discussion and decision. And further, that council determines to forward the consideration of funding support to the 2016 budget process.
So moved.
Councillor Krog, Councillor Hammett, any discussion? Councillor Butler.
Yeah, this is where I saw, I think the funding here it's asking for the drought response plan. I'm just curious why we would want to enter into another one of these and pay for it when we already paid for one back in 2005, and it's quite comprehensive. It's 50 pages long and from a good engineering firm. So I'm not sure that we would want to fund that again. I'm also curious, stated that Grand Forks has already contributed $33,500 to the project. I'm wondering what that was for.
Mr. Mayor, Dave, you have an answer to that?
Mr. Reed.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I believe that was for a grant back in about 2009 to support the initiative of creating the plan.
Thank you.
And the other drought response plan that we already have in place?
The two aren't tied together. The original grant funding was to create the
Right, I
Kettle River.
understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our, like the drought plan that you're talking of,
Yeah.
speaking of, it's two separate items. One's a regional collaborative approach, and one is just our city's response plan.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, through you, to Councillor Crog, probably the best one to answer it at this time is, what would our share of that 70,000 be? Is it based on the same proportion, percentages?
No,
Or are they asking for $70,000 from the city?
I know somebody who could answer that, but we'd need a unanimous decision of council to let him speak.
Maybe we could send it back to staff for more information.
Yeah, basically, the, when we're looking at the JAP, which is a Joint Emergency Preparedness Program, this should be, require funding for both coordination. That 70,000 wouldn't be the city of Grand Forks. I don't know what the actual breakdown would be. Actually, we have, here's the breakdown of what is funded, right? Before through SIBAC.
Yes, that's why I was asking. If it was, be based on the same percentage.
Each one is different
Each
on
one
that
is, yeah.
thing.
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor Hammond?
can we call another vote to see if we can't let Mr. Watt speak? I mean, if we want these answers and we have people in the room that can answer them, it just makes sense to let them talk.
So, all in favor of having Mr. Watt speak on the question? All opposed? All right. So we have a question on the table.
Another point. I remember when we were at the last meeting for the drought management collective committee or whatever it's called. I asked Mr. Watt about this map-based watershed information system that he wanted to do, and I believe at that point it was mentioned that there would be a grant or gas tax funding. Do you remember which one it was that was? It was because I asked if this was going to cost the city money, and I don't remember being upset because it was going to cost us money.
Mr. Mayor, can I suggest again that the person who can answer that is in the room?
Yeah.
Councilor Butler's requesting the information, and I don't understand why you're voting against not allowing him to speak.
Councillor Butler?
I would just say that we don't really have enough information. There's quite a few questions here that we don't have tonight, and maybe we could send that back to staff for clarity from Mr. Watt, and it could come forward at our next meeting.
Mr. Watt is here right now.
Can we,
Mr.
in that case?
And just to be clear that, if council wants to make this the priority work of the organization, I can't guarantee that there could be a report prepared for this, because we're already working on the next council agenda as we speak. This one's already before you, but we're a week into the next report already, or next council agenda right now. So that would require a shift in direction with the organization.
The question has been asked and it can be answered, but Councillor Ross?
Mr. Mayor, we've seen this past 12 months have been extreme drought. The forecast is for the next several years, we are not going to see the amount of precipitation that we really need to declare ourselves out of drought. I think with climate change, I know that we are going to see increased amounts of drought in dry and arid areas that we live in, such as this area. So I think drought it needs to be something that we talk about, and we need to know more about it. Drought preparedness and how to deal with it. So otherwise, we're going to be going hungry here. I think, can we just ask Mr. Watt, who's in the gallery tonight, to quickly address a couple of the questions?
Councillor Butler?
one of the issues that I'm having with this project, and I brought this forward last year when we voted on supporting it, is that it is going to end up costing the taxpayers a lot of money, as we proceed. We see here there's another $70,000 going towards it, not necessarily all from the city, but I'm fully in favor of a drought management project like the city has already studied, and I agree that we need to manage our watershed very effectively. I didn't see anything in the study that addressed privatization, dams on our rivers, clear cutting of our forests. That was kind of overlooked. And when I see where these recommendations are coming from, I believe they're coming from a project called POLIS at the University of Victoria, which is mainly funded by BC Hydro and the provincial and federal governments. And so I'm a bit concerned with accepting recommendations from private corporations and higher levels of government with regards to how we manage our water in this area. I would rather see it done more on a grassroots basis from the people in this town rather from accepting things from higher up.
Councillor Krog.
Okay, yeah, that's just too weird for me. So anyways, we're looking at continuing on with our watershed management plan. And for us to fund some of the core of it, not just the outside or the projects, because it is our watershed. And I don't see the BC Hydro or some other large privatized corporation coming in and strip mining the area and telling us that this is what we're supposed to do. This is the grassroots. This is us. Yeah. Okay, I'll finish. So basically, this is our communities, including the rural areas, that got together and said, no, we're not waiting for anybody else to do anything. We're gonna take it on ourselves and we're going to try our best to protect our watershed. And if you think it's a conspiracy, whatever.
It's not a conspiracy.
That's what you're saying.
I just, if I may add, I fail to see the reluctance of letting Mr. Watt speak on this when the question has been asked by yourself. Now, two questions and you oppose it. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I concur with what you were saying, and you are probably going to echo exactly what you did say. With Mr. Watt in the room and these questions being asked, and if he is prepared to work with us and to answer those questions and perhaps any others that may arise, we can move forward. To refer this back to staff is not a useful exercise, not a useful use of their time, and it's just not, it's of no benefit to anybody.
I would move that we call the question on this, if council is prepared to vote on it.
I'm not sure.
There's a motion on the table.
To allow Mr. Watt to speak?
No, for the regarding received a request. The question has been asked for the implementation of the project on that. Councillor Thompson.
I just wanted to comment, if we're not going to allow Mr. Watts to speak during this portion of the meeting, perhaps during questions and comments from the gallery, you may be able to respond at that time.
Yeah, that's
So the question is on the table, unless there's any other.
Yeah, are we gonna fund?
Yes, exactly.
But not at the cost of sending it back to staff.
That motion is not there.
Okay. What is the motion?
Council received a request from the RDKB for municipal councils to consider financial support of the core implementation and the project funding phase 3 of the Kettle River Watershed Management Plan through the RDKB annual requisition for discussion and decision. And further, that council determines to forward the consideration of funding support to the 2016 budget process. That is the question. Or CAO.
Mr. Mayor, so the key to that is it would be forwarded to our budget process when it would be discussed at all of our committee, the whole meeting. So it would be part of public discussion at that point in time.
We're not committing to anything.
You're not committing to anything, it would be part of the budget discussion. We would meet with Mr. Watt and the regional district to find out what it is they're looking for, and then we would have that prepared as a budget briefing for council.
Yes, as noted, it's a consideration only. So all in favor of the question? All opposed? Councillor Butler? The motion is carried. Okay. On our next, from Graham Watt, Commonplace Consulting. The subject matter is the letter of request for council to consider entering into a partnership with Commonplace Consulting in order for them to obtain funding to support data acquisition and analysis for a phase 1 inventory for an urban forest management plan. The recommendation is the council receives a request from Graham Watt, representative of Commonplace Consulting Limited, for discussion and decision in order for them to apply for funding for a phase 1 inventory for an urban forest management plan through the TD Tree Canada Green Streets program. May I have that motion? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Crog. Any discussion? Councillor Butler.
So it looks like this is what I was talking about in my report a few meetings back, where we're going to be entering into Asset Management 201, which is where we start putting prices on our natural assets. And then we move forward and end up having to amateurize those natural assets, and taxpayers will end up having to pay more for that. I don't know why we need to hire a consultant to count trees in the city in order to document them. I think we could have city staff that could, quite easily do that if we wanted to create eco assets, which I am not in favor of. I don't like projects that wear green masks, and I'm thinking that Asset Management 201 is a green mask for something that isn't necessarily an environmentally friendly idea.
Councillor Crog.
Cool, I have a new buzzword, Asset Management 201.
It's on Asset Management BC's website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see Area 51 here. No, that's School District 51. Anyways, seriously, it's not counting trees. It's not going, okay, you have 3 maple trees, 2 large trees, and a pear tree. It's a little bit more complicated than that. Yeah, there's partridge. So anything that we can do to give us a better handle on what we need to do. We used to have, I can't remember what his credentials were, but an actual arborist on staff, right? And that was what we were starting to do back then, which was a urban forest management plan. If you don't have one, then it can end up costing you in the long run, right? Because you haven't even looked at your trees, you haven't assessed them, you haven't done any of that stuff. So I don't see some kind of ulterior motive in something that should just be fairly simple.
Councillor Ross and then Councillor Hammond.
Just some experience I've had doing project proposals, and TD looks like it's the funder. I'm assuming that Commonplace Consulting Limited just needs a strong partner, because funders often are looking for who they're partnering with, and it would look good for Commonplace Consulting to have a letter or something from the city saying that we are going to be working with them. I don't know enough about TD Tree Canada. I don't know enough about the parameters around what how they work. I understand Councillor Butler's concerns, but I think this is more about, once again, it's not just being like greenwashing. It's not just greenwashing. I think there is always that problem, but to me it looks pretty simple. It's about reforestation of our cities, and they've had big reforestation projects in Vancouver, and we heard about them when we were at the UBCM where they're recreating forests within the city, and they're places where people are gathering. It's cooling the city on super hot days. People are getting out and they're gathering around trees and under trees. And so there is a movement in other jurisdictions, in other cities, much larger than ours, where they're reforesting their cities. And I think that this is something that we really need to do. We need to look at, and this may be an avenue by which we do it with very little cost to the city.
Councillor Hammett, and then our CEO, and then Councillor Butler.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Ross, and that the fact that they're not asking us for money, they're looking for us to partner with them so that they can receive grant funding. And I see the need of it. I see that we need a specialist that knows what trees to replace and plant. We have problems now with roots coming up through sidewalks that are causing infrastructure problems. And I just think it would be prudent of the city to partner with this and take advantage of this opportunity.
And it's always like at the UBCM, better to go in large numbers than individual.
Yeah.
To our CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The idea for us at this point, we would have further discussions. Once we agree to enter into the process for the grant application, then we'd have to consider this as a budget item. Should there be a financial contribution or anything further, we'd have to identify it in our financial plan. So again, it would be brought forward. This would be the initial process of identifying this to see if the grant's successful. And then council still has the ability to make a decision at that point in time. So as we do this, we're embarking down this process of identifying a method moving forward, and council still reserves a right at that time. If anything changes, for instance, if Mr. Watt comes back and says that it'll be $100,000 for the city to participate in this, then council may say, well, we would choose to not, or they would consider if they want to participate or not.
Yeah, the wording is quite clear, but Councillor Butler?
Right, so this is just for phase one of the project that we would be getting the grant for. So I imagine that there'll be a phase two at some point coming forward that, you know, once we enter into it, we've already done phase one, well, then we, you know, probably are committed into phase two, and that might not come with a grant. So I'm concerned that there will be costs in the future, just like there is with the Kettle River Watershed Management Plan. Creating eco assets, if you guys want to go on Asset Management's website and look at what that entails, look at what's happening in Gibson's with them designating their aquifers an eco asset, it does end up costing the taxpayers in the long run because we have to do the full cost recovery for all these studies that are done. Full cost recovery goes on the bills. For if it's for your aquifer, then your water bills go up to pay for the study for the aquifer, and this is another green asset. It just looks expensive.
But this evening, we're only dealing with phase one, so we're getting ahead of ourselves. Councillor Ross.
Just reading this a little bit more clearly. So Commonplace Consulting is asking the city to develop the proposal. I would have thought that Commonplace Consulting would develop the proposal with support of the city, not the city develop the proposal in partnership with Commonplace. It says right here, the question.
You're
Council,
CAO.
Mr. Mayor, what happens with this process is the city would submit it, council provides the resolution, the city would submit the application. Commonplace would be working with us should council decide to proceed on with it. I think that I am clear on that.
who's doing the bulk of the work?
Well, the majority of the work would be done by the consultant, but we would do the final submission and whatnot. We wouldn't, at this point in time, we would not be taking on an extra work at this point in time. Would we?
Your manager of operations, Mr. Reed. Because I know you've been patiently having your hand.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This I was working with Graham Watt on, and part of it was to collect data information for urban forests, but there was multiple uses for us. We could check the condition of our dikes. We could have floodplain reports, do our tree inventory for carbon reporting. With our work tech, it would do some truthing for us. Could give us building heights, positioning, tell us if the slag piles are shifting at all, help us with BC1 calls. There's numerous things that this would help. Working together, partnering with Commonplace, we were allowed to, the grant was the cutoff was, I believe, tonight at midnight. So trying to get this into council to see if, there was an interest in putting forth a grant application. We were allowed to use in-kind work that we do to offset for our portion. So we were looking at probably, I think the grant was around $20,000 in total. So excluding our in-kind work.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Councillor Butler?
Through you to our CAO, is this something that staff solicited, or did the consultant come to us and offer these services without us going to them?
Mr. Mayor, at this point, I know this has been an ongoing discussion with our organization, and Mr. Watt has worked with us very closely on some different projects. Whether we solicited or not, I believe the grant came to us with an idea on this because we've been talking about our asset management software to inventory everything that we have.
Unless there's any other questions, can we put this to rest? All in favor? All opposed? Councillor Butler? Motion is carried.
Mr. Mayor?
Councillor Ross?
I've worked at the United Nations, and I have a problem with the terms ecological asset. I understand people call things ecopreneur, ecoprenarial, and it really is, like a lot of the times it is like patenting of life forms, and there is a lot of danger in it. I think in the cement, just in the wording here, we have to be careful, but I do understand the concern about taking inventories and putting a value on it, on our trees and our ecological, things that are our treasures, really. So I just think if we start being a little bit more careful about our semantics as we move forward, but we did have a resolution that was unanimously passed that we would not privatize our water. So people are aware that we are very conscious of the market mechanisms that would take over our community, and we remain on guard.
Thank you. Councillor Butler?
I'm just curious if Councillor Ross would be interested in receiving any of the information that I've researched.
Sure, I've read through of that, but sure, send it to me.
Okay, we can put this one to rest. The AG Society, Grand Forks and Boundary Regional Agricultural Society. Subject matter is a thank you letter to the city for their support and contribution to the development of the Learning Garden at the Aquatic Center and continued support and involvement. Motion I request is to receive for information the thank you letter from the AG Society to the city for their support and contribution to the development of the Learning Garden at the Aquatic Center and continued support and involvement. Yeah, I have that motion. Councillor Hammond? Councillor Thompson?
Just
Discussion. Councillor Butler and then Councillor Thompson. Okay, put your hand up first.
Just curious, I haven't had a lot of information on the Ag Society. I know they're doing some good work down at the Aquatic Center. Does the Ag Society have a website where I can access their members, the people that belong to the society? Who does the Ag Society represent? I'm just curious about it.
Councillor Ross?
The Ag Society is a volunteer-based member organization. The director of the Ag Society right now is a woman named Christy Luke. I don't know how many members they have right now, but mostly it's farmers and eaters in the community. People who are concerned about food are members of the Agricultural Society. Gardeners and eaters and farmers. Not a lot of active members. There's a lot of members on the book, but not a lot of active members, and it's the same volunteers that show up all the time, and we're probably going to show up this Saturday at the new Learning Garden footprint to do some work, and I'll be there.
Thank you, Councillor Ross, for that assistance. Councillor Thompson?
Just a question through you to our CAO. They're asking for assistance in 2016 as well. Should that be portion be referred to the budget process?
Absolutely.
So can we add that? Should that be added, or is that included as part of the resolution?
This is just, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is-
Where it says-
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I thought the resolution also carried on that we were gonna provide.
No, it's just a letter of thank you for the support. Unless there are any other questions or discussions, questions on the table, all in favor? So carried. Next one is Gavin Gates, I think I'm pronouncing it properly. Community Coordinator and Christina Gateway Community Development Association. The subject matter is letter regarding municipal regional district tax application motion of support. And the recommendation is that council supports the regional district Kootenai boundaries application to the Ministry of Finance for the 2% municipal and regional district tax for their designated accommodation area that includes the majority of the RDKB electoral areas C, D, and E, and municipalities therein, and that support from the city of Greenwood or the village of Midway is not forthcoming, that council nonetheless supports the MRDT for a modified designed accommodation area including RDKB area C and D and the city of Grand Forks. They have that motion. Councillor Hammond, do I have a second? Councillor Crog, discussion. Councillor Thompson, Butler, and then Councillor Hammond.
I just need some clarification on this. Is it intended for the city to levy and collect this tax, or is it intended that the accommodators, the owners, would charge it to their patrons, to their guests?
Your CEO or?
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I was gonna say this would be, I've heard that there's been discussions on this. This would be a great opportunity for the regional district to do a presentation to committee of the whole to talk about this rather than it coming to council for a resolution. So council can take some time to understand this. So we have some more backup responses maybe from the chamber, from the regional boundary economic chamber of commerce, or regional district partners. Somebody can come and should present this to council. It was sent in to us. At this point in time, I think it would be premature for council to make a decision on it without having a presentation and an understanding of it. But it could be received for information. We could have a presentation at the next committee of the whole if they can accommodate. Unless our staff has more information.
Councillor Butler and Councillor Hammond.
Yeah, I would agree with our CAO's recommendation. I remember we did have a presentation on this at the beginning of the year, and at that point, I think, and I'm not sure, that the organization had only received just under 50% support from the accommodators in the area. So I'm not sure if they've had more people sign on with it since then. I think it does sound like a good idea. I know that a lot of people in the community are in support of it. But I just like to make sure that the accommodators are more than 50% in support of it.
Councillor Hammond and then Councillor Crowe.
I'm in support of the DMO, but I have some concerns. I'd like to see the numbers that they're anticipating, because I believe that the budget that they've proposed for 2016 is possibly unrealistic. And I've heard varying different amounts of numbers. The issue is who's going to administer this fund, and I believe that they're having a problem finding someone to administer this. It may go back to TOTA for administration, which is going to take 15%. And then I believe the provincial government takes a take. So what's left for marketing this area? I'd like to see the numbers. As far as participation, I believe the last total was 75% of the businesses have signed on, the accommodators. With Greenwood and Midway being the exception, they have some problems there. But a presentation to the committee of the whole outlining accurate numbers and who are the participants and who's going to administer this fund, I think should be forthcoming.
Thank you. Councillor Crowe, go ahead.
Yeah, it is. It's even higher than 75%. I'm just looking for some confirmation on the information, but I believe it's higher than 75%. And basically, it's a destination marketing organization that the hoteliers accommodators will collect the tax, and that will be used to promote the area. Right, so I'll see if I do find it, then I will tell you the exact number.
So then may I have the rewording of that motion or amending the motion, because the motion is on the table, the question is on the table. So we will receive it for information. Councillor Thompson.
I would put forward a motion that this matter be deferred to the committee of the whole meeting in December for a presentation from accommodators. And we have an opportunity then to answer or ask questions. The DMO. Okay.
Just a point of order, we
We have
either
a
have to
question.
defeat
Yeah,
or we have to remove
We have a
the
question
original
on the
motion.
table prior to this motion. There's a question on the table.
But if I'm moving to table or to defer, doesn't that take precedence?
That's true.
So if that would just hold that. So if there was a seconder to that motion, then it would
I'll
just.
second.
Councillor Hammond, for second.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Can't discuss table.
No, so go ahead. All in favor? So carried. Opposed, Councillor Crowley. To our Chief Financial Officer, the subject matter is the City Hall fire update. Ms. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor Conrad. As we get further in the claim and sit down with the insurance company and start discussing some of the issues and getting some of the final approvals, there have been a few small items that we have found that haven't been covered. However, we are at $2.2 million in this claim total right now. And we had set up a $300,000 contingency at the beginning of the claim to allow for the fact that we had to move at a certain pace and weren't able to get some of the approvals beforehand. So there were some items that we were unsure of. Although we haven't finished the claim yet, we're getting really close to the end of it now. So far, we've identified $47,000 worth of items that will not be covered. We had brought 15,000 in 2014 and 10,000 in 2015 of those items to council to get pre-approval for. The rest of the items are just items throughout that the insurer has determined that won't be covered. So this is just an update to council. Probably, I would guess probably February we'll be coming back, hopefully, having it all wrapped up with final numbers for council.
Thank you. So may I have a motion to receive the information on the City Hall fire update memo from our Chief Financial Officer, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Ross. Any other discussion? Councillor Ross.
Just looking at this list here, before we made a decision to lighting upgrade, additional window, additional furniture, did we know that those weren't going to be covered by an insurer before we made a decision to make those purchases?
To our CEO, our financial officer, would like to answer.
Sure, I remember the furniture was one that council knew wasn't going to be covered, but if I recollect properly.
We didn't do a resolution for it, but we knew that part of the furniture wasn't going to be covered.
Yes.
When the bid came in for the furniture and all.
Right.
But it was within the 300,000. But the City Hall lighting upgrade, we knew, and that was why we put it in the budget. So we did know that one beforehand.
But yeah,
And the additional furniture, the 2015, we did know wouldn't be covered. So we did ask for those beforehand.
yes.
Any other discussion? Councillor Thompson.
Just a question, do you need a resolution of council to authorize these expenditures? Would you rather wait until all the numbers are in and then, or do we even need to do that with the contingency that's available?
We do have enough room in the contingency. We just had told, when we put the contingency in at the beginning, we had told council that as soon as we knew things weren't gonna be covered, we would come back to council and let them know on these items before we would, proceed. Some of them were after the fact, so we couldn't come beforehand. But as soon as we found out that they weren't covered, that we would let council know.
And we're actually just receiving for information this update at this point in time.
Yes, I just noticed that there was 2 resolutions, one for 15,000 in 2014 and one for 10,000 in 2015. So this is why I was just wanting some clarification on that. So these are, what's these other items other than those, that $24,000 is unforeseen, extraordinary, that just, yeah, okay, thank you.
May I have a motion to receive that information? Okay, we did already. Okay, so discussion. All in favor? So carried. Deputy Corporate Officer for Communications. I believe she's not present, so our CEO will probably address this. Letter of support for the BC Paint Society.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we've had a letter from Mr. Verabeo regarding the letter of support regarding the impact to our community in respect to the music fest that we had. What the letter of support that goes into is a little bit more detail that would affect some of the local governing rules down in Vancouver in regards to medicinal marijuana. And those pieces. What we can say, if council so chooses, we can give them a letter of support, basically speak to the impacts that it's had on our community for the music festival. But I would hesitate on sending out a letter of support, basically with our council going against anything in the Vancouver Charter. That would not be a good move. But basically saying that, basically that his event has been very well received. If council liked it, council thought it was a positive event for the city, then that's a letter of support that we could provide to Mr.
Is that letter not already?
Yes, that letter, yeah.
Presented,
I just like to
signed
make
by
sure.
myself,
Yeah.
yeah. The letter basically just contained the fact that we congratulated him for putting on the Canifest, but it went no further than that. So may I have a motion to receive the request from Mr. Rabioff of the BC Paint Society requesting a letter of support, which was not done, but for the BC Paint Society and Canifest event, basically, and further advise staff whether they wish to provide a letter of support, which was already done, and it was not a letter of support on the basis. Councillor Ross, Councillor Hammond. I believe there's a discussion there. All in favor? So carried. Move along now to the Grand Forks Community Christmas Dinner Coordinators. Subject matter is a letter of support request for contribution for the 34th Annual Community Christmas Dinner. The subject matter is the council receives for information and contributes $500 from the Community Services Fund for the dinner. Councillor Thompson, making this motion or?
To make a motion for you to discuss.
Okay, I'll make the motion for discussion.
Do you have a second? Councillor Ross, discussion.
Through you to our, she's gone. Did we make a contribution, last year to this? Okay.
Councillor Hammond,
I'm looking at the letter, but I don't see an amount on here.
500?
On the letter? Yeah, it was in the motion, but it's not in the letter.
That's not in that, but
No, it says your contribution is worthwhile community event, is greatly appreciated. But I don't see an amount.
it's probably not in there, so we can contribute, but if we choose to contribute.
to our Chief Corporate Officer.
Mr. Mayor, I think that was the amount that the city has provided to the organization as.
So it's a repetitive amount?
It is, yeah.
So the council is satisfied with that. If there's any other questions? All in favor of the motion? So carried. Moving on to our bylaws section, from our manager of operations. The subject matters is the fees and charges amendment bylaw number 1958A1. And the recommendation is council gives the final reading to the fees and charges amendment bylaw number 1958-A1. May I have a motion to that? Councillor Butler, Councillor Thompson. Do we wish to have any discussion on this? Councillor Hammond.
Yeah, I was looking at the chart. Can't see it now.
Do we have it?
Yeah. What page is that?
Oh, yeah.
I saw that one, but there was
Okay.
one that showed the increase.
Yeah,
From
it's-
2015 to 2016.
Current rate is 33, proposed rate is 36.
That's for 2017. But it goes up. What does it go up next year?
For 2017.
Any other questions?
I just thought that they were, trying to find the page here. Pages. 32.
Is there a question?
No, I was looking for the chart.
Not this one, no, you're on
Yeah, no, I was looking for the other one.
the one that I was on.
Yeah, here it is.
That's the one I was on.
Yeah. Current rates, proposed rates. I just thought in respect to the other communities and looking at the comparison, and that would be on page 125.
Yeah.
The chart that does the comparison. Yeah, I just thought we were pretty high.
Yeah. But we've got the free sandy dump going on and the free
So this-
showers.
Yeah, so this cost, but I mean, I just think that compared to Nelson and Caswell, I've already, I've had some people that have said that they thought that the rates were pretty high, especially for a full hookup, already here as compared to other communities. And I'd just be concerned scaring people away instead of attracting more business.
Councillor Croggan and Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, it is at the higher end. We don't know what they're gonna do this year, right? So this is based on last year. And if we look at where our current rates are lower, so we're assuming that everything costs more money, right? So I look at the 36 and say that's reasonable. I've been to the Caswell, I've been to the Nicasp. I can't remember, I visited the Nelson one. I don't know where Grand Cache is. But when I look at it, just think about what we have to offer. We have free showers, we have a water park, we have an incredible park that goes along with it. You look at some of the other ones and yeah, maybe they're only $32 and they're based in an industrial area, right? So I don't see it as too high.
A quick question before Councillor Thompson. If I'm reading this right, it won't take effect in any event till 2017, so we're full year away. So again, like Councillor Croggan is, so the fact theirs could go up too.
Yeah,
Councillor Thompson.
I forgot about the water park.
Thank you, your worship. I recall, some
And
years
free
ago,
Wi-Fi.
that the council of the day did not want to compete with private business that had other campgrounds. And how do we compare with our rates to private business? Are we in the ballpark, or are we higher, or we're higher?
We're higher.
And that was the wish, that we did not want to see to be unfairly competing with private business.
Any other discussion? All in favor? So carried. Borough Manager of Operations again. Subject matter is the water regulations bylaw number 1973-A1. The recommendation is that council rescind the third reading of the bylaw number 1973-A1. And be it further resolved that council will then direct staff to amend the bylaw to allow for the new timelines to complete universal water metering program by July 31st, 2016, and housekeeping items as presented. May I have that motion? Councilor Thompson and Councilor Butler. Councilor Thompson.
Through you, Your Worship, to our manager of operations, I thought previously we had discussed an April 30th date. Has it always been July?
The manager of operations, but I believe it was only.
We originally looked at July 31st, 2016. And then we tossed around a few dates. Currently, we're at July 31st, 2015. Just hasn't been amended yet.
Because previously it was December 31st, correct?
Yeah.
Jump from there to July.
That was the original request, was December 31st.
Councilor Butler.
I'm just curious if I'm reading something wrong here. Section 10.7, it talks about how residents will be able to get a free water meter installed up until July 31st, which is the date. But then it goes on to say that any new building will receive the water meter but be billed for it. So if you're building new construction, you have to pay for your meter, but if you're an existing house, you still get it free. Is that right? Okay.
But are the timelines also with the permits being issued up until July 31st? So even if you are doing any construction, it will only take effect after July 31st, correct? As it was before, December 31st. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor of the motion? So carried. I believe we had late items, did we not? I don't remember what they were.
I have a little later.
Okay, start with Councilor Ross with your late item.
Just gonna pull it up. Excuse me. I'm just gonna have to go by memory because I can't find it. I fixed all my files and now I can't find anything. On Saturday, December 12th at 10 o'clock in the morning, there's folks throughout the community are going to gather at we can never pronounce this, Gyro Park, and it's called Grand Forks Climate Action Walk. And it's just an opportunity for people to get together. It's very family friendly to get together, and there's going to be some speakers, and we're just going to talk about climate change and what we can do as a community to mitigate climate change and lower our carbon footprint. There's going to be some speakers, there's going to be some music. People are going to dress up as trees or flowers or endangered species or whatever they want. People are going to make signs, and then we're going to have a little walk around the town and end up, I think, back at the park. And then that's it. It's just a fun activity because it's just to do it in solidarity with the activities that are going on right now in Paris, and it happened in Vancouver and Toronto and Ottawa and all over the world, actually. So we're going to have our own little activity here in Grand Forks, December 12th, 10 a.m. in Gyro Park.
Thank you, Councilor Ross. I believe Councilor Butler had a late item.
Yeah, I was requesting an update from staff on the layoffs down at the Public Works Yard. If certain employees have been laid off or removed from their positions, if you just update us on that.
No employees have been, no employees have received layoff notices as of yet, unless it's been a seasonal or a summer student. They're the only ones that would have received.
I've had members of the public stating to me that specific people have been told that they will be receiving pink slips this week.
They have not, you asked if they've received them yet, and no, they have not received them.
Can you give me, so you are planning on firing people this week?
I think firing is a harsh word.
Well, that's what it is, and it's Christmas time. I mean, my goodness, these are families in our community.
I think the question has been asked and answered. We'll now move on, unless there are any other items. We'll now move on to questions from the public and the media. And may I caution everyone out there that the subject matter has to pertain to items that are on the agenda this evening, otherwise it will not be recognized. So go ahead, whoever has a question, the gentleman at the front.
My name is Sophie Lawrence, work with City of Grand Forks. Just a question as to the insurance money, the 300,000, 3 full-time employees for a year, but I'm just wondering, contingency plan, does that mean that the insurance policy wasn't comprehensive enough to cover the damage incurred in the fire?
We'll direct that to our CEO, Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The original reason that we had a contingency plan in place was because we were dealing with approvals coming from the insurance company, and we had a contractor in place to undertake the repairs. And for those that are aware of dealing with the contract, you have timelines, and you can receive delay penalties for not meeting your obligations according to your contract. So the contingency was put in place for that purpose alone, just so we could meet the timelines according to our contractual obligations. The administration of this organization the prior administration for this organization did an amazing job of putting together the insurance package for this organization to ensure that our building was brought up to code as part of this process. And Lynn Birch and her team at the time deserve a strong commendation for what they did for the community in respect to that. They did an amazing job by putting that together.
Any other questions? The gallery or from the media? In that case, may I have a motion to adjourn? Councilor Ross, all in favor?
Dale.
This meeting is adjourned.
Did you want to see this?